Welcome back to the channel, GH family. The heavy iron gates of Pentonville swing open, releasing a man into the free air, but the invisible chains of humiliation are just pulling tight. A seismic shift in momentum has shattered Port Charles, leaving a broken surgeon and a bruised alpha male facing impossible. This specific triangle of absolute toxic misery, it takes the cake. I am half celebrating because Curtis Ashford is finally out of that terrifying hellhole with Jen Sidwell, but I am also half complaining, mostly complaining because of the incredibly humiliating way it all went down. Let's just set the scene for a second, because the cinematography of that opening moment was actually brilliant. Curtis walking out of the heavy iron gates of Pentonville. You could practically feel the crisp, free air filling his lungs through the screen. The man looked like he had the weight of the world lifted off his broad shoulders. He thought he won. He genuinely thought he had beaten the system, survived his stint with a ruthless international criminal as a cellmate, and emerged victorious to go home to his newborn son, Desmond. But no. Oh, absolutely not. He didn't win a single thing. He was released because Isaiah Gannon, the very man whose surgical career he violently destroyed, decided to drop the lawsuit. And why did Isaiah drop the lawsuit? Was it because of some grand, noble epiphany about forgiveness? Was it because he suddenly realized Curtis is a good guy who deserves to be with his baby? Nope. He dropped it because Portia begged him to. Portia, Curtis's ex-wife, literally lowered herself to plead with her current lover to spare her former husband. Just pause and think about the absolute crushing blow to Curtis's massive ego. I'm sorry, but Curtis has always been an incredibly proud man. Sometimes, he is way too proud for his own good. Remember when he found out about Trina's paternity and completely shut everyone out? He pushed Portia away, he pushed his friends away, he wallowed in his own bruised pride. Yeah, didn't work then either, and his pride is his fatal flaw once again. To realize that your freedom, your very ability to walk the streets of Port Charles as a free man, was bought and paid for by your ex-wife begging another man, that is humiliating. I am using all caps because I need you to understand the sheer level of emasculation happening. Curtis is literally walking around on Isaiah's charity. And that brings us to the hospital scene. Oh my god, can we talk about this confrontation? The tension in the lobby at General Hospital was thick enough to cut with a surgical scalpel. Curtis struts in, probably wanting to assert some kind of dominance, trying to reclaim his alpha male status after being caged up. He comes face to face with Isaiah, and I was holding my breath. I expected a screaming match. I expected fists to fly again. But Isaiah? Isaiah was ice. Isaiah didn't yell. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked Curtis dead in the eye, with his hollow, deadpan expression, and delivered the absolute kill shot. I didn't do this for you. I did it for Portia. Boom. Mic drop. Devastation. You could actually pinpoint the exact millisecond Curtis's masculinity fractured into a million little jagged pieces on the GH linoleum floor. Because what can you even say to them? What is the comeback? You can't punch the guy again. That's exactly what got you thrown into Pentonville in the first place. So what does Curtis do when he feels backed into a corner and stripped of his power? He deflects and he attacks. He gets right up in Isaiah's face, his voice dripping with venom, and demands that Isaiah stay the hell away from his son Desmond. It is such a classic Curtis move. When he feels small, he tries to make someone else feel small. He uses his son as a shield and a weapon because Desmond is the one thing he has absolute, undeniable claim over. But it just came off so desperate. He is trying to mark his territory in a war he already lost, the moment Isaiah signed those papers to drop them. And right in the middle of this testosterone-fueled earthquake is Portia, standing there like a deer caught in the headlights of an oncoming Mack truck. Am I the only one who is incredibly frustrated with Portia right now? I know some people are loving this fierce protective mother arc, but personally, I think she is the architect of her own absolute misery. She wanted Curtis out of prison for Desmond's. Great. Noble. I get it. But did she even stop for one single second to think about what she was asking Isaiah to sacrifice? Let's pivot to Isaiah, because my heart is actively bleeding for this. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the cold, hard facts of this situation. Doctor. Isaiah Gannon was a world-class surgeon. His hands were his life, his identity, his entire purpose for existing on this earth. Curtis Ashford took that away from him in a fit of blind, jealous, uncontrollable rage. Curtis ruined his career, and Isaiah had every single right to nail Curtis to the wall in court. He had the civil suit, he had the criminal charges, he had justice resting perfectly in the palm of his one good hand. But what does he do? He throws it all away. He flushes his own justice, his own vindication, right down the drain. Why? For a woman, for Portia. And what does he get in return for this massive, life-altering sacrifice? He gets to stand in the lobby of General Hospital and be barked at by the very man who ruined his life, while the woman he loves stands there looking completely torn and helpless. Isaiah is realizing that he played the ultimate sacrificial lamb, and he feels like a total loser. I mean, he literally gave up his dignity, his right to see his attacker punished, just to appease a woman who might not even love him the most. He compromised his core values. He let his abuser win. It is a profound, devastating psychological defeat, and you can see it written all over his face. Because that is the real, burning question here, isn't it? Does Portia still love Curtis? Isaiah is definitely asking himself. You can see the wheels turning in his head as he looks back and forth between them. He's looking at Portia, looking at Curtis, and he's realizing that no matter what he does, no matter how much he sacrifices or how much of his own pride he swallows, he is always going to be the runner-up. He is always going to be standing in the massive, imposing shadow of Curtis Ashford. Okay, back to the point. We absolutely need to talk about that dinner scene. The silent dinner. Wow. Give the director and the actors an Emmy for that one right now. There was barely any dialogue, just the agonizing, suffocating sound of silverware clinking against porcelain. The silence was deafening. It was the literal sound of a relationship dying in real time. You could see the exact moment the illusion shattered for Isaiah. He's sitting across a beautifully set table from the woman he threw his entire career and sense of justice away for, and there is absolutely nothing left to say. The air was so thick with unspoken resentment and regret. Portia is sitting there, breathing this huge sigh of relief because Curtis is finally out of prison and can be a father to Desmond, but she is completely oblivious, or willfully ignorant, to the fact that the cost of her relief was her relationship with Isaiah. It's over. We all know it's over. And honestly, good. Isaiah deserves so much better than to be a pawn in the endless, exhausting Ashford family drama. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Portia's lies and manipulations always catch up. Remember the years she lied to Curtis and Trina about Trina's paternity? She let that lie fester for decades. Yeah, this is just a new flavor of the same old Portia. She manipulates situations to get the outcome she wants, and she leaves a trail of broken hearts in her wake. But where does this leave Curtis? He's free, but he's angry. He's humiliated. His ego is bruised beyond repair. And let's not forget, before he went into Pentonville, he shared that incredibly passionate, sizzling goodbye with Jordan. Jordan Ashford. The woman who has always had his back, who understands him in a way Portia never truly could. Is Curtis gonna run straight back to Jordan now that he's out? Because honestly, I am here for it. I am SO here for a Curtis and Jordan reunion. They have unfinished business, and Jordan has been holding down the fort at Aurora while he was dealing with his legal nightmare. But with Portia's relationship with Isaiah rapidly imploding, is Portia going to make a desperate play for Curtis again? Oh Lord, I am dreading that. I am actively dreading a Portia and Curtis reunion. We have been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. It never works out. And what about Trina in all of this? Trina has officially decided to set boundaries and distance herself from her parents' endless drama. She is focusing on her art, her life, and her high-stakes music showcase with Gio Palmieri. Can you imagine how exhausting it must be for her to watch her mother destroy another relationship just to bail her father out of a mess he created with his own violent temper? Trina is the only adult in that family right now, I swear. I just keep thinking about the sheer public nature of that hospital confrontation. Curtis is a prominent figure in Port Charles. He owns a Savoy. He's a former cop. To have this brutal dressing down happen in the middle of General Hospital with nurses and doctors walking by, it is the ultimate humiliation. Isaiah didn't just beat him, he pitied. And for a man like Curtis, pity is so much worse than hatred. I mean, are we seriously supposed to believe that Isaiah is just going to walk away quietly after this? No way. This is Port Charles. People don't just walk away quietly when they've been wronged this badly and stripped of their dignity. I am predicting a major villain era for Dr. Isaiah Gannon. He has nothing left to lose. His career is gone, his romance is dying, his justice was stolen, and honestly, I would support his wrongs. If Isaiah decides to go rogue and make Curtis and Portia's lives a living hell, I will be sitting on my couch with a giant bowl of popcorn cheering him on. Because Curtis needs to be taken down a peg. There, I said it. I love Curtis as a character, I really do. But the man's ego is completely out of control, and he needs to face some actual, lasting consequences for his actions, instead of having the women in his life constantly clean up his mess. Think about what Curtis was mentally preparing himself for. He was sitting in a tiny, claustrophobic cell in Pentonville, sharing breathing room with Jen Sidwell, a man who was a literal psychopath. Curtis was bracing himself for years of that nightmare. He was preparing to miss Desmond's first steps, his first words, his entire childhood. The sudden, jarring release must have given him severe emotional whiplash. He goes from survival mode to freedom in the blink of an eye, only to realize his freedom is a gilded cage forged by Isaiah's sacrifice. It makes you wonder if Curtis almost wishes he had stayed in Penton. At least in prison, he was paying his own debt. He was facing his own punishment. Out here in the free world, he is burdened by a debt he can never ever repay. He owes his life to the man he crippled. It is a poetic, twisted irony that only a soap opera could pull off this flawless. Isaiah holds the ultimate power over Curtis Ashford, and Curtis knows it. Every time he looks at Desmond, he will know that Isaiah is the reason he gets to be a father. That is going to eat Curtis alive from the inside out. This storyline is an absolute masterclass in psychological warfare and character assassination, and I am eating up every single second of it, even while I complain. The writers have trapped these three characters in an impossible web of guilt, resentment, and shattered pride. Isaiah is broken, Curtis is humiliated, and Portia is standing in the ashes of the fire she lit. I literally cannot wait to see how this explodes next. Will Isaiah's shattered pride push him into a dark, vengeful villain era? Or will Curtis's bruised ego ignite a brand new war? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below and subscribe